In East Africa, the Ethiopian government has announced a 6-month state of emergency in response to intensifying and deadly anti-government protests across the country. Prime Minister Hailermariam Desalegn said in a televised address, the declaration, which went into effect Saturday, aims to curb recent attacks on government buildings and businesses. Earlier, I spoke by phone with Tsegaye Ararssa. He's a constitutional law expert at Melbourne University in Australia, and sought his reaction.
My immediate reaction, Vincent, was of a surprise, and a surprise because it is not surprising. We have been saying that we have been in a state of emergency for a long time, as Oromos as well as Ethiopians who have been living under a dictatorial regime that has literally waged a war on its people, especially since November 2015. And throughout that time, when they were imposing military rule in Oromia and later on in Amhara region, when they were intervening in the regions with the federal armed forces, with the special force of the federal military, we have been saying they can't do this constitutionally unless they have declared an emergency situation and mobilized the army on that basis by suspending the constitution of the states and the relevant constitutional provisions of the federal government. Or we have been asking that they can only intervene through the federal intervention order that can come from the upper house of the Ethiopian legislature. It's called the House of Federation. So when now, after doing all sorts of extrajudicial killings, all sorts of mass arrests, all sorts of burning people in prisons and setting fire in prisons, setting fire on towns where there was resistance, such as in Konso, and after killing civilians' children in marketplaces, in their homes, after going door to door to hunt down people and take them to detention centers, when they finally come to declare emergency, we were surprised because this is not surprising, because this was long overdue.
Now the question is that they have gone ahead and declared the state of emergency. What does that do to the efforts by the Ethiopians who want to push the government hard? Because now legally they can actually clamp down on opposition, they can clamp down on protesters, they can ban all forms of public engagements by the Ethiopians. So does this in any way make things better, especially for the critics of the government, for the protesters?
No, the government has always been clamping down on opposition, on any kind of political dissent, and it didn't need any law, and it didn't stop any resistance. It's precisely because the legal avenues of expressing disagreement, expressing difference, that people have been taking it out to the streets.
But now they have the legal basis, right? So that makes it easier for them to take any action.
There is no legal system now, because once the people have been demanding the respect of the constitution and the legal order for a long time, and it was the regime which have been acting in complete neglect of the law. And now, when they use the language of the law, they are only using it to oppress the people further. So this legal action now, they can now arrest and search people without any warrant. They can ban protest signs. They can ban any public protest demonstrations and assembling. They have restricted any printing, publishing, and publicizing otherwise of any protest signs, any slogans, etc.
Dr. Tsegaye, superficially, the government of Ethiopia could say that for the preceding months, they allowed people to express themselves, but that the people went overboard. They claimed that there have been a series of attacks on government buildings and businesses, and therefore they have kind of found themselves in a situation where they have to take some further action, which, amounts to a state of emergency. Could they appear to have a justification?
No, because there has never been a time when they have allowed any protest, demonstration, public assembly, or association of any type. All sorts of protests have been labeled as terroristic, as something of an extremist act, as an international, an external ploy to undermine the Ethiopian government and to commit an assault on the integrity of the constitutional order.
Dr. Tsegaye, thank you very much for your insights at this moment.
Thanks for having me.